Up next, it's time for a vibe. And that vibe is Rockabilly, starring with Elvis Presley. You saw me standing alone without a dream in my heart, without love of my own. Blue moon, you knew just what I was there for.
Imagine there are two producers, Jim and Jamal. Jim has been producing for 6 months. and still uses the default Ableton template. Now, while his music is improving, he constantly feels down at the thought of having to start a new song, and he never knows where to start. On the other hand, Jamal has been producing for 2 years, and his Ableton template is handcrafted to his perfect workflow. He has his default tracks, return channels, and arrangement markers all dialed in, and this encourages him to start and finish more tracks than ever. What's up, Abe from EDM Pro, and today I'll help you be more like Jamal and set up your perfect Ableton template. Now, before we dive in, if you do want a more comprehensive guide, a one-stop shop to everything Ableton, make sure to check out our free Ableton workflow Bible, 112 pages of Ableton goodness written by the amazing Conor O'Brien, down in the description. Go check that out. And with that, let's dive in. So very quickly, I just want to show you how you can actually create a template. Now, you may have an existing template, or you may just have the default Ableton one when you first load up a new session of Ableton. I have my default one just loaded up here. What you want to do is you want to first customize the project exactly as you want it. You don't need to go into a special mode to customize the default template. You just need to currently work with what you've got. As you can see, I've set up mine with all of my channels and everything here, stuff on the master. Once you've done that, you want to go up to File, and you want to save Live Set as the default set. Just a quick mention as well, you can save it as a template which is different to your default set. Doing so will save it in the templates folder here in Ableton that you can load up at any time, but it won't be your default set. If you do want to change it at any point though, you can right click on any template in this folder and set default live set. Whichever way you do it, once you've set your default set, that will be the next thing that loads up exactly as you left it when you hit Ableton. So now that you know how to set up the default set, let's dive into a few principles that will help us get the perfect template for what we need to do. Now the first principle here is less is more. What you're really wanting to do here is balance your creative options, what you can do, with limitations, what forces you in a certain direction with your music. Now this is an overarching principle for the other 5 principles that I'm going to be covering in this video as well. And really, it's all about having less distraction, less options, less CPU usage, which is hugely overrated, and also less creative pigeonhole. So basically, you can see here at a glance my template that I use. Now, it's very simple. It's inspiring because I'm not weighed down with too many options. I have the tracks that I need loaded up, which is what I'm going to get to in the next principle. And it's just generally speaking, following the principle of less is more, right? I don't have like 10 instances of Serum. The amount of plugins that are on each channel are minimal, right? I'm using minimal processing even on my returns, again, something I'll get to. A few key deliberate things on my master channel. It's very simple. For you, this might be too complicated, and maybe, generally speaking, follow the principle. Down with. So basically, you can see here at a glance my template that I use. Now, it's very simple. It's inspiring because I'm not weighed down with too many options. I have the tracks that I need loaded up, which is what I'm going to get to in the next principle. And it's just, generally speaking, following the principle of less is more, right? I don't have like 10 instances of Serum. The amount of plugins that are on each channel are minimal. Right, I'm using minimal processing even on my returns, again something I'll get to. A few key deliberate things on my master channel. It's very simple. For you, this might be too complicated and maybe you need to strip it back even more. Or for you, you might want a few more things, but whatever simple is to you, make sure you keep it at that level and do no more. Now this leads me to number 2, which is to use only the default channels that you actually use in every single song. Now note here that I haven't said any song, I said every song. Your songs always have a kick drum, always have a snare, always have a hi-hat, always have some sort of bass line. Make sure those channels, whether it's an audio or MIDI, and for most part, I personally use audio, although there's a few MIDI channels here as well, are existed and ready to use each time. Now, I don't recommend having channels that you might use. It could clog up a project and just cause distraction when you know there are already things that are those core ingredients that are going to sit there every time. For example, maybe in a certain track, I'd like to use a few mid-bass sounds to fill out the mid-range of my track, but I don't do that in every track. I wouldn't put those channels in my default template because it's just going to be another one there. And I don't necessarily need it depending on the song I'm working for. And it's very easy for me to add 1 or 2 extra channels here and there than it is to think about having to delete a bunch of extra ones every time I go to make music, if that makes sense. So have your bare minimum tracks, the ones you're using every single track you're working on, and you'll thank yourself later down the track. As mentioned, for me, this is a kick, a snare, a hi-hat, which is pretty much ubiquitous in all electronic genres. I have a break layer, I make drum and bass, so I like to bring in some acoustic kind of sample breakbeats. I have a sub bass that I use in every single track. I always like to try and add some sort of vocal sample or recorded sample, and this is also set to my input channel so I can record that. I like to sometimes start my song with either a sample or an instrument, so I have 2 channels set up for that, which I'll get to a bit later in this video. And then I have a few effects channels that, again, effects are going into pretty much every track I make, so it only makes sense to have them there. Awesome thing about these is that they also serve as creative triggers. If I have to get something that might be missing from my track that I know I'm really wanting, I can go ahead and look at what I've got in my default template and be like, this song is missing a crash cymbal, boom, put one in. Really easy. And like you can see here, I've actually color-coded them by type, so all my drums are pink, my bass is green, vocal purple, instruments blue, and effects white. So that just really helps me understand where I am in my project vertically, and then I can make good creative decisions. So number 3 is to opt for rack presets instead of loading up your template with heaps of plugins. As I mentioned, you'll notice instead of loading up your template with heaps of plugins. As I mentioned, you'll notice a lot of my tracks here don't have a lot. I have a utility and an EQ on every track, so pretty much every track is going to have one of those things on there because they're so basic in my mixdown workflow. However, you'll even notice some of them are using EQ8 instead of my preferred EQ, which is Pro Q3, one of the only third-party plugins that I use religiously. And the reason for this is, again, saving CPU usage. But apart from that, of course, I'm using more third-party plugins. And again, of course, I'm using the same signal chain, the same set of plugins on certain devices, on certain instruments, often. But I don't put them in my template for a good reason. CPU, one, it's going to take the project a lot longer to load up, which is just another layer between me getting in the door and making music that I want to, so I don't like to put too much in there for that reason. And also, it can just be too early in your workflow to have those plugins there, and it can actually kind of stifle your creativity. I have a few plugins obviously on my returns here, and the bulk of my existing plugins are on my master because I know these are low CPU analysis plugins, they're not doing a lot of processing. I have a reference track plugin, which again is a great thing to have, which I'll get to at the end. A limiter is one of the only actual processing units to have, which I'll get to at the end. A limiter is one of the only actual processing units I have on here, and a few other minor things, for example, a mid-side solo rack and stuff that again I'm using every single time. but I don't have any buses. I don't have any super complex mastering chains, literally for mastering cylinder, which I can turn on and off with my keyboard shortcuts, right? So that's what I do. I don't keep it complicated. Instead, I have my audio effects rack folder saved down here, which you can also access via the user library up here. I prefer just having the shortcut down here. And I have, for example, a bus folder, a mastering folder, and a return folder. So I can actually bring on, say I want to, at a later point, group my drums together and bring on a drums bus. I'll put on the drums bus processing chain, and boom. Once it loads up, you can see this is why I don't keep it in my template. All my favorite drums bus devices are ready to go. And this is the best of both worlds, because you still have the time saved from not making this from scratch every time, but it's not bogging your template down. This also goes for instrument racks where you've got presets. This can be with all of your Ableton post-processing on, so say some of these even have like a little bit of Serum and maybe some post-processing there, or maybe even just Serum in some cases. Whatever it is, I save instrument racks to. This one, for example, has an operator patch. Now, if you do want to put together a rack, say you have an instrument, maybe an analog with a little bit of EQ, with a high-pass filter, and maybe some echo or something like that, you can shift-click all the devices, Command-G to put them into a group, and then down at the bottom here, there's this save icon in the bottom left. Click that, and you can name it whatever the heck you want. New Lead 2.0. That's how you do it. So number 4 here is to create 1 to 3 starting points. Imagine you're in a traditional musical recording studio. You're probably going to have a few instrument stations set up around the room that you can go to in order to start jamming out a song idea on. We want to recreate that environment in our DAW. Now, I personally don't like to do this too much because I've used it in the past and for me it personally doesn't work, but it may work well for you. Basically what I'm talking about here is having a few key deliberate sounds, again, ones you use in pretty much every track, loaded up by default. Again, not every sound is loaded up, but maybe just the piano that you always use. You could go ahead here and bring in a piano sound, load it up. Preferably something that is a strength for you as a producer, because it's going to encourage you to start return tracks to save CPU. Now, return tracks are great because, again, they actually form a huge part of your sound, but they just save you time and resources. I have a few set up here, and again, they're cool to set up because they're just simply one and done. You do it once, you don't have to overthink it, and then you're not even looking at the reverb. You're just simply using these little send fades on each channel throughout your project. The cool thing with sends as well is you can shape, say, a reverb or a compressor or whatever effect you've got on the send with additional plugins, so that you can shape maybe the EQ spectrum, or maybe you want to add compression to your reverb, or you want to add multiple layers of reverb on the one channel. You can do that with returns, and it's very, very cool. My example is I have drum verbs. So, for example, if I find a quick drum loop, chuck this one in, and loop it up. On my drums group here, I can start to send my drum break there. Blend it to taste, and immediately I've got some reverb on my drums. I've set this preset up exactly as I like it. It's got a nice bit of brightness, and it works with my sound. I also have a main verb with Valhalla Vintage verb, which is a bit more of a thicker, longer, chorusy reverb for main instruments and stuff like that. I have a high-pass bass verb, which is not muddy and has the lows taken out of it, so it works if I want to add a bit of clean space to my bass sounds. And lastly, I have a stereo bus set with Ozone Imager, just for side channel solo, so that I can add a bit of stereo image to any of my instruments in the mix. This is how I personally like to control my stereo image. Some people might do it at the mastering stage. Bass sounds. And lastly, I have a stereo bus set with Ozone Imager, just for side channel solo, so that I can add a stereo image to any of my instruments in the mix. This is how I personally like to control my stereo image. Some people might do it at the mastering stage. This is what I like to do. Now, this is just how I use it. You could go ahead and add more or have less. For example, some people like to have a parallel saturation rack. Maybe some people like to have a parallel compression rack to kind of give you a mix a bit more fullness. I tend to do these things on my buses instead. Some people like the Ableton default template has nice delay. You can go ahead and do exactly what works for you and what you know you're going to end up using in pretty much any track. Okay, so number 6 is to actually go ahead and set up arrangement markers, or what are called dummy clips. Now, normally this is actually paired with the idea of using a reference track. Now, I personally don't put a reference track in my default template because, again, it will pigeonhole me too much. I like to choose my reference track for each song I work on. However, you can have a track here and just call it reference. Set it to go to the external out so it doesn't have any master processing applied to the track you're referencing, again, because a lot of reference tracks will already have mastering chains on them. And I can actually use that as a reference track, not only for the mix down and for the sonic qualities that I want to imbue onto my track, but also to map out my arrangement and structure. I have a default structure set up here in mind with intro, build, drop, few sections of the drop there, breakdown, build, drop 2, A, B, and C, and then an outro. This is a drum-based structure that I kind of use. The good thing is it's flexible. I can go ahead and move things around. I can also use Command-I to insert more time and say I want to extend the intro out. I can do that. I can Shift-Command-Delete time. I could also Shift-Command-D, duplicate time, so I could make the build twice as long there, add an extra drop section there, etc. Now, I do this with dummy MIDI clips in this case. Basically, you just want to create a new MIDI channel. I've called
Hurry, go. The only one.
The queue output is used for the most common use that I see it being used for is listening to the click track and being able to queue up different, be able to preview different samples over here in your browser, so on and so forth. But there's a lot more uses of the queue output than just that, and we're going to go over all those different things and how you can really navigate your set in a way that keeps it nuanced and fresh and doesn't play every single thing that you need to preview to the crowd. So let's go ahead. I want to focus on this little section. This is the output section. In order to be able to display what I'm going to talk about, we're going to switch. We only have two channels with it, the left channel and the right channel when you're listening to this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose for my queue output channel 2, and for my master output I'm going to choose channel 1. And the reason that is so now when I play the clock, you can hear the click track coming out of the right side, and then any of my audio will come out of the left side. Right? Now, so you understand, you could do this. You could do this however you want. Your master output commonly is output 1 and 2 from your audio interface. Okay, so then if you have 3 and 4, 5 and 6, any of those other audio, if you have extra audio outputs, most interfaces do, you can send the queue output to those. And commonly you'll have to figure out how to route your headphones to whatever output pair you want to choose. If you can't see output pairs, you just go, you click on this area right here, you go to configure, and right here in this area, this is where you configure your outputs and your inputs. You can switch them on or off. So if you have an interface that has multiple outputs and you don't see them, just make sure that they're clicked on here. Okay, but for our purposes, we're going to keep the master on the left channel and the queue out on the right. That way you can differentiate what I'm doing. Okay, so this is the easiest part. Your click track, the metronome I should say, is up here, and the volume port is right here. So that's simple. Okay, everything that you're hearing down channel 2, we're just going to imagine that the crowd can't hear that, and that's coming to your headphones. And everything you're hearing out of 1 is what the crowd hears. Okay, so I start my set, the click track is going. I'm like, all right, so what clip do I want to do? I'll start this hi-hat loop, and now the crowd can hear the hi-hat loop. Okay, so let's get into the first thing that you can do with the queue output, as long as you have, and this option won't appear unless you have different outputs routed to the queue and the master out. So I'm playing my clock, so I can hear the click track on the right, and something I want to do is I want to preview the drum track that I want to use. So I'm going to mute this, it's muted, okay? And I'm going to go over here and click on the solo button, and all of a sudden it's going to say queue. And if you notice, the different areas underneath where solo normally is are now headphone tracks, right? So what that means is that now I can preview in the right channel, which is my headphone channel that we're imagining. I can now listen to things without the crowd hearing it, so long as either the volume slider is down or the track is muted. Okay, so I'm going to play this. Now I can preview these drum tracks, as long as the queue button is on. So I'm going to preview these drum tracks. Okay, so maybe I don't like going to this one. Okay, so when I'm ready, that sounds good. I'm going to click this 1. Now, you notice how it sounds like it's down the middle? That's because it's playing out of the left channel and the right channel equally. So I can take it, sounds good. I'm going to go, so long as either the volume area is muted, okay? And I'm going to go over here and click on the solo button, and all of a sudden it's going to say queue. And if you notice, the area in. So I can take it out of my cue mix by just hitting the cue. Okay. So now the crowd is hearing that drum beat and my hi-hats. Okay. So I'm gonna go to these other tracks. Okay. I'm gonna do the same process. They're muted right now. I'm gonna choose which Rhodes track I want. So I'm gonna launch this one when it comes around. That's pretty cool. I'll try it on. Panel equally. So I can take it out of my cue mix by just hitting the cue. Okay. So now the crowd is hearing that drum beat and my hi-hats. Okay. So I'm gonna go to these other tracks. Okay. I'm gonna do the same process. They're muted right now. I'm gonna choose which Rhodes track I want. So I'll launch this one when it comes around. That's pretty cool. I'll try it on. Okay, so that's the one I want. So when I'm ready to unmute, just hit it on the. Okay, I'm gonna turn my cue output off. Alright. Now let's do it a different way. If I have this track turned all the way up and the also the cue switch from so that's on, I can actually pull the slider all the way down and still get full volume from my cue mix. So I'm gonna listen. Or maybe this one. So what we're doing is we're previewing this audio. The crowd can't hear it. So when I want the crowd to hear it, you know, I can do one of two things. I can turn the cue off. It's still playing, whether the cue's on or off. When the cue's just not here, I'm just sending it to my cue mix to get it. Okay, so now what I can do is I can dynamically sleep it in. Right? Okay, then I can mix my first delay. Alright, so that's how you're using the cue mix to listen to your clips and figure out which one you want and when you want it to come in. It's all control for you. Now, the next thing I'm obviously going to show you, because every time I'm going to show you this, is MIDI mapping. Everything that you want to do with the cue overall volume, the cue switch, turning it on and off, can all be mapped to MIDI. The volume sliders, the mute on and off switch. So I'm not going to get into exactly all the different ways that you, all these different clips, you want to do all this other stuff, some nuance. Maybe you have a set that goes.
Line structure, and you can just go ahead and select in say 8 or 16 bar segments a section that you would like to add. Maybe I want to add a like outro 2 section. Let's say, why not 2 outros? I've selected 16 bars here and just pressed Shift Command M to create a new MIDI clip that's blank. You don't have to put any notes in there, obviously, because there's no sound or instruments loaded up. And this is just more of a signifier to show you that you've got this part of your track as a section. I like to leave my structure track at the top, and I can just kind of build my rest of my track underneath each of these markers. Now also, the way that Ableton has designed you want to do this, which I used to use but I'm starting to move away from now, is to right click and add a locator on the arrangement. And this is the same sort of thing, except it just creates these playheads that you can basically see visually that exist. Now you can see the difference here. The one benefit of the markers at the top here is it's a little more visually out of the way, but it can be a bit intrusive as well. These lines kind of stick through the whole arrangement, so if you don't like that, it's a bit annoying. But you know, the downside with this structure is it's not really designed to be, you know, MIDI clips aren't designed to be used to structure things. So for example, it can just be a bit annoying if you're adding new tracks in and you're moving stuff around. This structure will get moved around as you move audio and MIDI tracks around, and you can't unfortunately really pin a track. It's just kind of wherever you construct the arrangement. So is to right click and add a location. I like to leave my structure track at the top, and I can just kind of build my rest of my track underneath each of these markers. Now also, the way that Ableton has designed you want to do this, which I used to use but I'm starting to move away from now, is to right click and add a locator on the arrangement. And this is the same sort of thing, except it just creates these playheads that you can basically see visually that exist. Now you can see the difference here. The one benefit of the markers at the top here is it's a little more visually out of the way, but it can be a bit intrusive as well. These lines kind of stick through the whole arrangement, so if you don't like that, it's a bit annoying. But you know, the downside with this structure is it's not really designed to be, you know, MIDI clips aren't designed to be used to structure things. So for example, it can just be a bit annoying if you're adding new tracks in and you're moving stuff around. This structure will get moved around as you move audio and MIDI tracks around, and you can't unfortunately really pin a track. It's just kind of wherever you place it. So it's not designed to be used like that, but it absolutely can be used like that if you like. Now it's worth mentioning that when you set up a you know, arrangement marker situation like this, or however you do it, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself too much. I'd strongly encourage that you use this as a starting point and then use those tools like duplicating time and stuff to customize your arrangement arrangement to each song that you're working on, each reference track you may be using, or just what you feel creatively you want to do. It's also worth mentioning, of course, that you want to set your tempo in your template to the tempo of the genre or style that you generally tend to make. Now, if you make multiple genres, you can create different templates or just customize it each time. But whatever you tend towards most, set it up, because again, it's one less thing you've got to worry about setting up in your template each time. And it's going to make adding your structure, adding a reference track a lot easier. All of this stuff are aimed at helping you make music better, faster, and more creative. So your template should ultimately be helping you do that. And all of this being said, your template is constantly evolving. Sometimes I've had more complicated setups and sometimes more simple. Right now, I'm somewhere in between. Either way, you'll just need to adjust to your circumstances and where you're feeling creatively. But for now, if you followed along with all these principles and tips, you'll have a template that you're proud of.
Someone I really care without love, bloom. You saw me standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without love of my own. Without love of my own. Without love of my own.
Every day it's a getting closer, going faster than a roller coaster. Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey, hey, hey. Every day it's a getting faster. Everyone said go ahead and ask her. Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey, hey, hey. Every day seems a little longer, every way love's a little stronger. Come what may, do you ever long for true love from me? Every day it's a getting closer, going faster than a roller coaster. Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey, hey, hey. Every day seems a little longer, every way love's a little stronger. Come what may, do you ever long for true love from me? Every day it's It's a getting closer, going faster than a roller coaster. Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey, hey, hey. Love like yours will surely come my way.
Love that you feel inspired by.
It's a psychobilly freakout! Some kind of a Texas psychobilly freakout, that's what it is! It's a psychobilly freakout!
Listen to the king of the surf guitar. Listen to the king of the surf guitar. Listen, listen to the king. Oh, how he can pluck those strings. Oh, how he makes you sing. Listen. Listen to the king. From Balboa to Anaheim, San Bernardino to Riverside, all the kids in all LA love to hear Dick Dale play. From Balboa to Anaheim, San Bernardino to Riverside, all the kids in old LA love to hear Dick Dale play. Listen to the king of the surf guitar. Listen to the king of the surf guitar. Listen, listen to the king. Come on and listen. 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 Come on and listen.
That was Dick Dale and his Deltones closing it out. Gonna follow that last mix up with a round of music from Britain's vibrant jazz scene, starting off with this one from Berlioz.
Hello. Oh. Hello. Testing attention. Testing attention, please. Here's my 2 cents. Okay. Whoa. Ow. I think I just destroyed my entire life. Shit, bro. Shit. Let's leave this. Done. Okay. Alright. Do you really like it? Mic on my left side only. Oh. Yeah, I just plugged in my new audio interface and now all my settings are fucked. They're fucked in the head. Why is external headphones? Details. Hi. Test. Well. Oh, I need to do another one. Okay, how about now? Hey, mono microphone input. We are back. Why can I hear myself talking though? Is it because of the monitor? Direct monitor? No, that's not a reason. Oop. What does that do? Hi. Shut up. Dim. Hi. Hello. Nice balanced voice. What is all this? Speaker. I want speaker switching. What's monitor controls? Analog outputs 1 to 2. Controlled by hardware monitor controls. Okay. I think hardware outputs. Why can I don't want to hear my voice. Okay, enable speaker switching. What does this do? Oh, I can hear. Whoa. Seagulls. Yeah, there are seagulls. Oh my god, I can hear my voice so crispy clear. Hi. Hello, this is without air. I'm talking without air. Now I'm talking with air. I like air. Alt. What's this? Speaker switch. Is this a speaker switch? Oh, I can just go to Alt. Ah. I don't have to switch on and off my... He's monitoring on the streaming platform. What do you mean monitoring? I don't want to hear my own voice though. Output routing. Okay, so hardware inputs 1 and 2. Okay. If I make this one why isn't it coming through to software playback? It's all rather confusing. Custom mix. Hi. Monitor outputs. Hello. How speaker switching works. 18i8. Second pair of monitors is very easy. I can hear myself scratching my beard. That's... oh my god. I can do ASMR. Hi. Monitoring... oh, am I monitoring the mic on OBS? I don't think so. OBS settings haven't changed. Yeah, they're all off. Thank you for suggesting that. But I want to know what all the ports are. Okay, here we go. Front panels. 11 and 12. Monitor. Why am I doing this? Why did I do this? So, connect 1 or 2 pairs of stereo headphones below the headphone. The headphone outputs always carry the signals that are currently routed to analog outputs 5 and 6. Okay. And 7 and 8 respectively as stereo pairs in Focusrite control. Headphone 1 custom mix. Yeah, I don't even know what I want. I should probably stop. What do I want in my life? Well, I mean, loop back. What's loop back? Is that my loop back? Not additional sort of physical. I don't want to use loopback. I'll just mute it. Set the source. What's this? A nickname. Can I just delete it? I don't know. I mean, I like how I can just switch to headphones. Hello. I just don't want to be able to hear the sound of my own voice. So monitor outputs 1 and 2. Playback from the door. Huh? Is that? Oh. I think that's it. Audio engine off. Okay. Chat profile and production profile. Nice, yeah, I've got a couple profiles. Hi, test. So that turns off my main. So I have to switch off my speakers. But now I can hear my voice and I don't want to. Headphone, custom mix. I just want playback. Hardware input Oh, this is to like monitor directly. So I'm guessing if I set this to analog 1, I can... No, I can't hear the sound of my voice. What about this? No. Analog 3, 4, no. 5, 6, no. But if I do this, I can... Now I don't have to hear the sound of my voice. Custom mix. Oh, custom mix. Ah, so now I can't control it. Okay, that's cool. Custom mix. So hardware inputs. What's this? The pan. Oh. Fuck, what have I done? I want to set it back to normal. Okay. Oh, nice. So if I want analog 1, I can hear my voice. I have to take that off. Analog 2, I should, if I, now I can hear that and now I can't. Okay. So we don't want to hear any of the hardware inputs. We just want the software playback. Okay, and then this, I'll just set it to custom mix as well. And, hello? Oh, I'm on alt. But now if I'm on main, oh, it's test. Okay, it's working. Oh, custom mix gets shared. So if I set this to solo, switch. Oh no, it's not shared. Okay. But if I do this, now I can hear myself through my headphone, through my speakers. But now I can hear myself. My headphones. Is this different for this? No, it's the same. Okay. Yeah. Why am I hearing myself through my headphones? Monitor outputs. Maybe because this is monitoring that. So if I turn this off. Okay. The gain. Okay. If I disable and re-enable. Nice, it resets. What's this? What's this thing? Oh, it's monitoring the levels. Okay. I think I got it. Hello.
So I'm thinking now is a good time to dive into a mix of music.
All right.
And it just feels like.
Sorry, I wasn't producing Dexter's.
The Birds leading the way.
That's not bad, actually. Have you seen her face? Have you seen her face? Oh, I got a meeting. And have you seen her face? That's gonna be a tad bit of faculty. Fuck. Better place to put my water. I can put it. can just... Perfect. I feel like the audio is better quality.
Has anyone here thought about doing a tech talk anytime soon? Any takers? Once we have some of the new stuff in, then we'll be able to start doing tech talks or some of the stuff, so yeah. Oh. You're talking about like tech talks for like actual CDO stuff? Yeah, I mean for things like, still like once we got NX 12, 13, 14 and stuff, we'll have lots of cool features to demo tech. I didn't have any harbor agenda items for this. Oh, okay. I thought, again, I'm reading things. Oh, you posted that in the channel on Friday. That's all. Okay. Awesome. Alrighty. So yeah, I think our two things will kind of merge in together. That's good. Might just be like what went wrong or whatever, and then yours will just be like how we can fix some stuff. Awesome. And then Ethan will talk about the MSE smoke test, and then Paul will talk about NX12 and third-party Cisco libraries. Interesting. Alrighty. Cool. So for the MSE thing, pretty much we were just asked to talk about these three things
This meeting is being recorded.
Not deploying properly to staging. Another one was that the build took over an hour because we just wanted to build one NFE and it took an whole hour. And then the other one is that no one knew what. So it was fun, but let me just share some stories that we came up with. Oh, 1 second. Guild, getting warmer. Nope. Here. Yeah, so pretty much 4 things that we thought that could be good. I was talking with Paul. Pretty much updating Pluto to show the proper states of the MFEs for real. And we had some issues with them not showing up in the right bucket all the time, like staging or whatever, deploying and whatnot.
I do have a question about that. Because I always found that like the Pluto MFEs page always seems to show the accurate information. But the default Pluto dashboard, like showing where it is, if it's in like CI or staging, is more often than not, but not very accurate. Is that what this means?
To some extent, like the the MFE's page is basically just showing like what versions have got to the S3 buckets in our environments, whereas the